Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm here today to do a review of One Piece episode 643. Now, this episode you see Law Doflamingo and um, the Navy Admiral Fujitora squaring off with a few Navy pirates behind him. And the Navy Admiral Fujitora asks Law, "Hey, are the Straw Hats working under you, or are the Straw Hats your allies?" And after Doflamingo had asked, "Hey, what's your verdict on Law? What are you supposed to do here?" And then Law starts to rational. He says, Admiral Fujitora says that basically, if he says the Straw Hats are working under him, then he'll be not guilty. But if so, they'll have to catch him and the Straw Hats. Now, basically, Law's sitting there trying to rationalize what's all going to happen in his head. And you know, Law is a really good strategist, just so we've seen so far. And Law goes, "Well, it's just going to get worse if we take this matter into Dressrosa. I'll have to find a way to buy time." Now, how this went through his head like this is beyond me, but he goes, "Yes, I'm an ally with the Straw Hats, just as you read in the paper." Then all of a sudden, the Admiral Fujitora, he bends down and shoots like a ray that almost looks like the slow beam, but out of his back, except it's really fast, and when it comes down, it basically summons a meteor. Now, there's theories as to what his power actually is. Most people say it's a gravity fruit. Basically, he can control gravity of basically everything. He can, like earlier when he was in the bar or whatever, the gambling house and the bar, he basically sunk the floor controlling gravity. And this time he brought a meter down controlling gravity. Now, basically what happens, he pulls this meter down, and it's basically like it's a win-lose situation. He pulls the meteor down to test Law and Doflamingo's power. Now, when the meteor comes down, Law summons his room and slices the meteor in half. One side goes towards Fujitora and one side goes towards Doflamingo. Doflamingo, obviously, he uses his strengths to cut up his side of the meteor, and it just fucks up the area all around him. And Fujitora, he basically summons another one of those beam things, and it basically really represses the meteor, which means he may not have absolute control over gravity, but he does have some sense of control over gravity, because he couldn't completely repel the meteor. When the meteor got to him, it kind of, if you see him here, the meteor kind of shattered over him like that. And basically there was three pillars left that they were standing on. A pillar Law was standing on, a pillar Doflamingo was standing on, and a pillar Fujitora was standing on. Then you see one of the Navy soldiers comment, "Hey, the only spot left anywhere near them is the spot that they're standing on." And then it cuts back to Sanji and Frankie's on the phone. Frankie's telling Sanji that he found the factory and that he believes he can get to it, but destroying it's going to be a little bit more tougher than he thinks. He hasn't explained why yet, but while he's on the phone, Sanji finds out that Luffy's battling in the Dressrosa Coliseum and asks Frankie how he could be so careless as to let Luffy do such a thing. And Frankie said, "You're at fault just as much here. You lost Zoro," which means I don't really see how he could be just as much his fault, because Zoro gets lost all the time. And basically, what happens is you got Sanji and them talking, and Sanji's basically got to go because some of Violet's men are coming for Violet and him, so he kicks Violet's men's ass. And Violet basically says he's got to go back now. She can't defy Doflamingo in the Navy anymore. And then Sanji does the whole lovey-dovey moment where he grabs her and is like, "I'll get you off this island no matter what." And so, I don't know exactly what Sanji's going to have to sacrifice to get her out of this. Or the whole anime, if you haven't noticed, Sanji's been like, or just for instance, one time, it's happened multiple times, if you've seen the anime, you know. But the only instance I can think of at the time is when Kuma was about to try to kill Zoro, and Sanji tried to step up, or was about to take Luffy's head, and Zoro and Sanji stepped up. Sanji's like, "No, take my head. I'll be the worst, worst trouble for the Navy, and well, for the world government," he said. So maybe in this arc, Sanji will take out CP0 or something like that, and Like, he's got to start somewhere if he's gonna be the world's worst trouble for the world government. So yeah, I mean, if that's true, either he's just spouting shit off at the mouth. I don't know, but he's got to do something, and this is a very good time to start, seeing as they're in the new world and shit's going down everywhere. And CP0 is a secret branch, but it's not a branch that is so important because you got CP0 through 9. So Sanji could take out somebody like that, or maybe even Fujitora. Now, there's also a part that dispels the Jewelry Bonney theory, the Firefish Shanks one had. If you see on this channel, he has a theory that Jewelry Bonney basically lessen the age of some of the previous admirals in order for her to get free from the world government after she got caught when Blackbeard had her. But really, there's no proof of her getting caught. Sorry, the fly running around my head, but there's no proof that she actually got caught. She could have just turned Minnie and escaped from the ropes that she was tied up with when Akainu came to capture Blackbeard on that island in the Grand Line. I forget what island it was. But then it cuts back to Luffy in the Coliseum. Now, maybe I don't fully understand the willpower haki. Maybe I was confused about it, but I was to the understanding that you could only use the haki on people or things with a weaker will, or with a weak will, which I guess apparently isn't true because Brutal Bull does not have a weak will. A weak will, sorry. Alright, but Brutal Bull's coming at him, and Luffy's getting careless at this point. It's actually starting to make me one like, what the fuck, man, Luffy? Come on, you gotta be smarter than this. He goes into gear second, just to fuck around with the bull, to dodge the bull. Now, after he got back from time skip, they said he had fully mastered the gear second. So if you fully master gear second, does that mean it no longer affects his body in a negative way? I don't think so, but assuming it's like still affecting his body in such a negative way, then why is he doing so? Why is he being so reckless as to just fucking play around? Because at the end of the whole little dodge and playing around thing, he basically sits the bull down using haki and scares the shit out of him, and then rides him and is like, "Let's do this shit together, bull." So now you got Luffy control the Brutal Bull, just fucking taking out contenders. So overall, this episode, if I believe I caught on everything, but because I watched the episode last night, I just skipped through the video on a couple spots to see if I thought I had everything together. I think I did. If I missed something, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I missed Usopp and the Tontatas. Usopp started showing some scaredy cat type of emotion, and they're like, "Oh, Usopp is the hero's getting scared," and they're all shocked, and he's like, and then Usopp dries up real quick and like, "No, I'm not getting scared." And then they tell him about the story of Nolan. Nolan fought with our ancestors over 400 years ago, and now several years later, when they're going to take back their kingdom for the second time, another descendant of what's his face, Kagura, I guess not Kagura, but Nolan, another descendant of Nolan to Usoland, is from what Usopp told him. He's not really a descendant of Nolan, but another so-called descendant of Nolan is here to help him take back the kingdom again, and they gave him the flying fish that they caught earlier, which would have been monster food for the Tontatas, and was like, basically, you're gonna need to lead us to the fight. Or will you lead us into battle? And Usopp is shocked as hell, and then Robin calls Usopp a terrible person. He's like, "You were saved by me being a terrible person too." I thought it was pretty funny, but Usopp does have a point there, because they would have been fucked up by them little Tontatas, and things are strong, really strong. You could see from a couple episodes ago when the thing threw a tantrum after Zoro caught it and was just fucking breaking up the whole building, all the buildings in the town, and well, a couple of buildings in the town, and the concrete all around him, just by banging his hands on the concrete, because he was having a conniption fit, I guess. But overall, this episode had a lot of plot progression. Plot progression was great. Plot progression has been pretty good these past couple episodes, but it was a kind of laid-back episode as well, except for the first part of it. But overall, the episode for character progression, we got to see a little bit of each of their powers. We got to see a little bit more on the history of the Tontatas. We got to see a little bit more of how Violet actually thinks towards all the things that are going on now. So overall, character progression and plot progression, I would say the character progression is like 9 out of 10, plot progression 10 out of 10. So overall, I'm going to have to give this episode a 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. And that's my review for it, guys. Peace.